Welcome back to a very special Doorstep Mixtape show. I'm celebrating 6 decades this month since the very first video game arrived, or at least was invented, over in America, as you'd imagine it would be. And thanks very much for sticking around. When we left, it was very much a two-horse race, with Sega and Nintendo battling it out for the top spot of the console market. But there was a new kid on the block who I'll be talking about in a bit. As I said, for a long time, Sega and Nintendo seemed utterly unstoppable, but there was another chancer waiting in the wings that could totally change things forever. Can you guess what it was? Yeah, the Sony Playstation. I remember having the same reaction to both Sony and later Microsoft joining the whole console war. Both of them were well-respected companies, but totally alien to the world of gaming when they first came out, and I thought they would crash and burn like the less successful Philips did with the CDI. But how wrong can one person be? For many, the Sony PlayStation is where gaming really grew up, with more adult games like Silent Hill, Metal Gear Solid, or Grand Theft Auto, and with the move from cartridge to CD, the soundtracks just got even more impressive too. And we're going to hear a few now from the PlayStation 1, the PlayStation 1 era. I've gone for a one called Lightning Luge from a racing game called Rage Racer. And one of the things I love, it takes me back to the mid-90s certainly, was a bit of a drum and bass soundtrack going on when you're playing this song. It has such a great drum and bass sound to it. I loved it. If you don't know what drum and bass is, then you're too young, but it was very big in the 90s. Ask your mums and dads. Anyway, and then after that, Jonathan Tarpley has gone for Gran Turismo soundtrack, another great racing game on the PS1. John Tarpley says Dandy Warhols is his favourite one, and the track was called, he says he couldn't remember the track name. It wasn't their big hit. Yes, I know which one you mean, but it was actually Not of You Were the Last Junkie on Earth, and you'll certainly recognise it when you hear it. Great tune. And that's from Gran Turismo. And then following on from that, we have Abe's Odyssey. What a game that is as well. My wife Lucy has just got back into playing Abe's Odyssey because I think there's a really good app version of it on the iPhone that you can get. So she's been playing that a lot. So we'll be playing some of the very atmospheric Abe's Odyssey theme music, and that was picked as well by Benjamin Corrie, who you'll know is a very talented singer from the Madding Crowd. And he writes, the first two Oddworld games had an incredible soundtrack. To me, they're the best of all time because literally every single piece of music used, no matter how incidental, was utterly unique and really enhanced everything about the games. I could play those all over again right now. And then finishing off my PlayStation 1 celebration, I have from Alex Joss. He's gone for Gunstar Heroes, and he says it has a great soundtrack, and the best probably... Oh, no, not Gunstar Heroes, sorry. He says Gunstar Heroes is a great soundtrack, as does Echo the Dolphin, which was back with the Mega Drive in the first hour. But the best ever is probably Command & Conquer 1, so I'm going to be playing you a song from that, Act on Instinct. So did you get all of that? Here we go. From Rage Racer, indie pop from Gran Turismo, and their beautiful sounds there, very creepy but beautiful, from Abe's Odyssey. And now finishing off our PlayStation 1 celebration. Before we move on, this is Act on Instinct from Command & Conquer 1. Number 1, and that was chosen by Alex Joss, so thank you very much for that. A little bit of some different sections of fantastic games for the PS1. So what did the PlayStation do to all the other consoles that were around at the time? Well, the big hitters of Sega and Nintendo suffered greatly at the hands of this new pretender to the crown, Sony, especially as the second PlayStation came out. The unmistakable, unstoppable force of the PlayStation 2. Sega struggled with their 32-bit console, then their CD console, then bowed out of the console game with their last, hugely underrated Dreamcast. Nintendo did slightly better with their Nintendo 64, and finally moved away from cartridges with the less popular GameCube, but it was really their stronghold on the portable market with their generations of Game Boy, Game Boy Advanced, and later DS and 3DS that kept them afloat during the rise of Sony. But yeah, just to show a bit of love to the Nintendo 64, because although it didn't do too well compared to the PlayStation at the time, it has a lot of fans. So I'm going to play this next one again for my wife Lucy. She gets 2, of course she does, and it is from the fantastic Zelda game Ocarina of Time. This is Saria's song Lost Woods by STL Ocarina from the game Ocarina of Time, from the Nintendo 64. And if you've just joined me, we're talking about the history of gaming and video games, and we've got to the late 90s with the PlayStation 2, which seemed to be unstoppable, an unstoppable force, really. Nothing could touch it, and it saw off, it almost saw off Nintendo. It totally saw off Sega as a console maker anyway. They came back with as a games maker later on. But I'm going to make a link out of this because, you know, us teachers, we can make a link out of anything. And we've had the song Two Tribes and Way to Fall. So from those, I'm going to say that although they seemed unstoppable, there was another tribe around the corner ready to try and make the great PlayStation 2 fall. The game had changed, in fact, which is the next song by Daft Punk. And we see coming into the arena the Microsoft Xbox. Coming up after this next tune, the game has changed. I'll be talking about the other great platformer.
The Doorstep Mixtape on Redshift Radio with Tim Lee.
That's me, and we're talking about the history of video games, and we've been talking a lot about the PlayStation because for a long time it was the only games console worth having. But as we entered into a new millennium with the 6th generation of consoles, the PlayStation 2 was very much in the lead, but Microsoft made a surprise sideways move from personal computers to their first video games console with the Xbox in 2001. It looked like a tank, and the games were pretty violent too, with Halo, Call of Duty and other shooters that made this new boy the one to watch. Not since the halcyon days of the Sega-Nintendo war had there been two more hot rivals, and Sony and Microsoft started a bitter head-to-head war to win over gamers, as playground gangs were formed on each side again. Meanwhile, what would Nintendo be doing? Well, Nintendo was poised to make a huge comeback, believe it or not, in the most unlikely way. They brought out the Nintendo Wii in 2006 and went for a very different market to the PlayStation and the Xbox. Gaming had become a complicated, highly skilled hobby for enthusiasts and all-night campaigners with the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. And there were a whole group of people, the younger kids, the older gamers and families, who were missing out. Nintendo brought the action back into the living room and back to the family with a much more interactive and fun Nintendo Wii, with kinesthetic controls that you had to move to control. For the first time ever, games consoles were being used in old people's homes, or by the very young, and the appeal of gaming broadened significantly. The Xbox and PlayStation consoles that came after continued to corner the market for the older, serious gamers, in inverted commas, but took on board some of the Nintendo's unique innovations with the PlayStation Kinect system and the hugely popular Minecraft, which really broadened the Xbox appeal to the younger audience. And from Minecraft, I've gone for a song from Tim Previtt, another very, very talented redshifter out there. I'm not saying I'm very talented, I'm just saying, you know, other... see what I mean? Other presenters are very talented, and Tim Previtt's definitely one of them. He knows his stuff all right. Yes, he does. And yeah, he says Minecraft has beautiful ambient music. This is a collimative piece. I think I said that right. Takes a minute to build up into definite sense of movement. I used to listen to that with parallel strips by Aphex Twin to and from yoga, and it really put me in the right mindset. So from Minecraft, as picked by Tim Previtt, this is the gorgeous C418 Dead Voxel. I think I've said that right. Here we go. Dead Voxel, I believe, from Minecraft. And yeah, Tim Previtt, don't be doing things like that to me, dude. After the week I've had, I was seriously struggling to keep my eyes open, let alone present a show with that one. But that was absolutely beautiful. I'll definitely be listening back to that one.
The Doorstep Mixtape on Redshift Radio with Tim Lee.
And showing a little bit more love to the Xbox again, we have a double whammy here. We have the main theme from Batman Arkham City, as chosen by Derek Barnett, who says the main theme from Barkham? Batman Arkham City is well worth a listen. I've listened to it, and it definitely is, Derek, thank you. And then following on after that is Paul Kappa's choice. He says there's a particularly awesome song at the end of Red Dead Redemption, Compass by Jamie Little. So here we have from Batman Arkham City and from Red Dead Redemption on the Xbox. Here we go. Paul Kappa. And before that we had the main theme from Batman Arkham City as chosen by Derek Barnett. So thank you very much for that, you two guys.
The Doorstep Mixtape on Redshift Radio with Tim Lee.
So carrying on our history, we're into recent history now really. Other recent innovations and evolutions have been the popularization of virtual reality gaming. VR gaming had been attempted before, all the way back to the 80s with the Nintendo's unpopular Virtual Boy. But it wasn't until recently that programmers have really got the technology right. Consoles themselves have become multimedia machines for the home, incorporating streaming services like Netflix and Amazon Prime. They've also harnessed the potential of the internet with online gaming, bringing gamers all over the world together. But with all this positivity has also come some concerns about what computing is doing to us. Are we playing the games, or are they really playing us? There's a thought for a late Thursday night. But here is a cautionary tale about a woman who falls in love with her computer. This is, of course, the wonderfully bonkers Kate Bush with Deeper Understanding. Kate Bush, a cautionary tale about loving your computer a bit too much. And if you ever get a chance, check out the video that she did to that. It's really something special. It has I've forgotten his name, the guy who plays Hagrid, one of my favourite actors, but like I say, it's been a long week and I can't even remember my own name. But yeah, he's in it, and also Noel Fielding is in it as well, and it's got it's just a great story basically about a man trying to save himself from his addiction to the computer. Anyway, talking of our addiction to the computer, let's keep going. And we have next up a song from Graham Lloyd, who you'll know if you listen in regularly. He's Mr. Some Sweet Day, and he's also a very big supporter of the show itself. And he writes, "Hi Tim, Mafia 3 was the most amazing soundtrack I've heard in one game and would fill a radio show with one game's soundtrack. This masterpiece of gameplay has not one Rolling Stones song on it, but two. Sympathy for the Devil, Say No More, Paint It Black, the list is endless, plus Aretha Franklin's Respect, Otis Redding's Dock of the Bay, and it goes on to recommend A Deeper Look." From Mafia 3, as chosen by Graham Lloyd, it had to be this one, Sympathy for the Devil by the Rolling Stones. A bit of Sympathy for the Devil, the classic there by the Rolling Stones. And you'll probably have noticed that even though games are obviously getting newer, as things tend to do, they also are looking backwards a little bit as well. I talked about Grand Theft Auto before, that's starting to be, a long time ago was set in the 80s, and I'm trying to remember, I think, was Vice City in the 80s? I think it was. Anyway, and Sympathy for the Devil, of course, 60s tune, but very much from a modern game, Mafia 3, and that was chosen by Graham Lloyd. Great choice, Graham. And talking of nostalgia, you'll probably realise that nostalgia has become big business recently with the resurgence of old media like vinyl records, and retro gaming has made a comeback with kit computers like the Raspberry Pi emulating all the old greats. I've certainly got back into it recently in that way. It's incredible to think just how far we've come in the last 60 years since physicist William Higginbotham created a basic video game as nothing more than a novelty.